The neon sign outside Lenny's 24-hour grill buzzed weakly in the rain, casting sickly pink light across the wet pavement. Inside, the air smelled like burnt coffee and old grease. The clock above the register blinked 2:14 a.m. Jackson Hale sat alone in a cracked vinyl booth, nursing a plate of eggs that tasted like cardboard and toast that had given up on being warm. Another Tuesday, another night shift done, another silent meal in a town so quiet you could hear your own regret. His hands were calloused, nails chipped from freight work. He wore a faded jacket with the name Jack stitched on the chest, though. No one ever called him that. Most people in Redwood Falls just knew him as the guy who showed up, did his job, and left. No family, no visitors, no stories. That's how he liked it. The door creaked open with a jingle too cheerful for the hour. At first, Jackson didn't look up. Then the silence hit him, every clink of silverware, every murmur of conversation. Stopped. Something had shifted. He glanced up. She stood in the doorway like a storm caught in a frame. Nearly 6.5 feet tall. Skin that shimmered faintly beneath the diner's tired fluorescent lights like moonlight on steel. Hair. Braided tightly, jet black with threads of silver. But it was her armor that drew the stares, matte black streaked with cobalt blue, etched in symbols that glowed with their own quiet pulse. She wasn't wet from the rain. And she wasn't human. A guy in a booth near the coffee machine whispered, "Cosplay." Another chuckled nervously. Jackson set down his fork. She walked toward him with the silent precision of someone who had done this too many times before. She didn't glance at anyone else, just him. He blinked, throat dry. "Can I help you?" She didn't answer. She reached into a slot on her chest plate and pulled something out. Folded, creased. A photo. She slid it onto the table. It was old, faded, but he recognized it immediately. A little boy, 5 years old, muddy sneakers, missing front teeth, standing beside a man in a lab coat who looked too tired to smile. Jackson stared. "This is you," she said quietly. Her voice was calm but carried the weight of steel. "We've been searching for you for years." He looked up at her, eyes narrowing. "What?" She didn't blink. "Your name is Jackson Hale, born in St. Louis, disappeared from official records in 2029, presumed lost." He laughed once, sharp. "Lady, I've lived here for 5 years. I'm not lost. I'm just nobody." She slid into the booth across from him without asking. The armor groaned slightly as she moved. Her eyes metallic. Violet never left his. "You're not nobody," she said. "You're the last living key to something that could either unite or destroy half the galaxy." Jackson's mouth went dry. "You've got the wrong guy." She lifted her arm and tapped something on her gauntlet. A soft pulse, then a holographic strand flickered to life in midair between them. A helix rotated slowly, segments highlighted in red. "Your father built the vault," she said. "You're the only one who can open it." Jackson's hand trembled. He gripped the edge of the table like it could anchor him. "What vault?" he whispered. She leaned forward. "The one your father died to protect. The one people will kill. To control. The one only you can reach." He stared at her, heart hammering. "I don't remember any of this. I don't know you." She reached out and touched the photo. "Maybe not," she said, "but I've never forgotten you." The diner faded behind them, swallowed by darkness and drizzle. Jackson followed stiffly, mind reeling, steps uneven like he was walking through someone else's dream. The rain felt real enough, but the towering woman in glowing armor at his side, that part couldn't be. Saraka Velure, she'd said, commander of something he couldn't pronounce. And she claimed he was the key to some galactic vault that could tear the stars apart, or bind them together. Yeah, sure, her boots didn't. Splash in the puddles. She moved like the ground obeyed her. He kept glancing sideways, still hoping to catch a zipper or wire, something to prove this was a stunt. But there was no mask. No seams. Just a silent tension in the air like lightning waiting to strike. Where? Are we going? He asked finally. Someplace with fewer eyes, she said. They cut through the alley behind Lenny's, past a line of dumpsters and old brick walls glistening with rain. The alley opened into a narrow service road lined with delivery trucks. That's when he noticed it. The sky had changed dot above the cloud line. Faint but massive, hung a soft ring of light pale gold, pulsating slowly like a heartbeat in the sky. It stretched across the heavens like a halo too big for Earth. That's not the moon, Jackson said. No, that's my ship. She stopped beside one of the trucks and tapped her gauntlet. A thin sheet of light shimmered around them, rising from the ground in a dome. The air inside warmed slightly. The sound of the rain faded to silence. You've been encoded since birth, she said. The vault is ancient, predating most civilizations we know. Your father was one of only a few humans entrusted with knowledge of it. He didn't just work with aliens, Jackson. He died protecting one. He narrowed his eyes. You? She pulled back the fabric of her armor near her shoulder. Beneath the plating, a scar ran jagged across her flesh, faintly glowing and uneven, like it had never healed clean. You gave me this, she said. Jackson blinked. No, I've never seen you before in my life. You were 5. You saw me injured in the woods. You fought off one of the Vari. You saved me. He took a shaky breath, heart racing. He wanted to scream this was impossible, but she tapped her gauntlet again. This time the hologram was different. Not DNA, a memory, a foggy night. A child running through trees, a glowing shape ahead. The boy him rushed to a large figure slumped on the ground. There was blood, sparks, a low snarl from somewhere nearby. Then the boy picked up a rock, screamed something incoherent, and lunged off-screen. A shriek, not human. Then silence. The image froze on the boy kneeling beside the wounded woman. Her armor looked new then. Her eyes were the same. I don't remember this, he whispered. You weren't meant to, she said. Your memories were shielded by your father. He knew what was coming. He tried to give you a chance at a normal life. Jackson backed up until his shoulder hit the truck behind him. None of this makes sense. My mom vanished when I was 12. My dad died in a lab explosion. That's what they told me. That was a lie, Saraka said. Your father was executed by the Vari the night of the drop. He used his last breath to send you through a breach gate. You were found disoriented near a school parking lot the next day. After that, your records were scrambled. A clean erasure. Someone didn't want you found. And yet here I am. Yes, she said, and they're coming. The dome around them shimmered. Something had breached its edge. Saraka's posture shifted instantly. One hand on the hilt of her gauntlet. Her eyes went cold. They followed us, she said. Who? The Vari. Assassins. Elite trackers. The air behind. The dumpster shimmered bent unnaturally, like heat waves in reverse. 2 shapes emerged, cloaked in armor spiked with angular plates and etched with symbols like bleeding obsidian. Their eyes glowed red-orange, like dying stars. Jackson's breath caught. Jesus. They don't worship him, Saraka said. And then she moved. Faster than his eyes could track, her blade extended from her gauntlet in a flash of plasma light. She vaulted over the truck, colliding mid-air with the first attacker. Sparks flew. Jackson ducked behind a crate as the second one raised a cannon and fired. A blast of blue light tore past his head, scorching metal behind him. Saraka was already on them, her blade slicing in an arc that cracked the wet concrete beneath their feet. The first assassin screamed a distorted howl, then fell. The second retreated into the shadows. Saraka landed hard beside Jackson, chest heaving. Rain steamed off her armor. "You see now?" she asked. He nodded slowly, stunned. "Yeah, I see." She looked up at the sky. The golden ring above pulsed brighter, lowering. "You're not safe here," she said. "Not ever again. You have to come with me." He stared at her, heart pounding, the taste of ozone and fear still on his tongue. "And if I don't?" She looked straight into him. "Then they'll kill you. And the galaxy loses its only key." The wind roared louder the closer they came to the clearing on the ridge, though there was no storm, no trees rustling, no cause. Just a pressure building in the air like the world itself was holding its breath. Jackson stumbled behind Saraka, boots slipping in the mud as they crested the hill overlooking Redwood Falls. Below, the diner lights looked like specks on a forgotten circuit board. The glowing ring above had grown wider, more distinct, casting pale gold across the valley. Like an eye slowly opening, Saraka didn't slow. Her voice came over the wind, calm and clipped. "Your pulse is spiking. You're overheating." "No kidding," Jackson snapped, panting. "I just watched you stab a walking skeleton in the chest and outrun a damn plasma cannon." "They weren't skeletons," she said. "They were Vari, cloaked in void-forged armor. You weren't supposed to see them and live." He stopped in his tracks. "And now what? I hitch a ride on your spaceship and save the galaxy?" She turned to face him. "This isn't a movie, Jackson. This isn't about saving anyone. It's about keeping what's left alive." He stared at her. "What exactly is the vault? What's so important that I was hidden my whole life?" She hesitated just for a second. Then her gauntlet lit again, casting a rotating projection between them. The image showed a dying world, a charred landscape with blackened towers, skies scarred with fire. Massive machines half buried in ash pulsed faintly beneath the rubble. "This was Tarson 7, she said. "The first vault was open there, without the key, without control. It annihilated the atmosphere in 23 minutes. It took centuries for the magnetic field to stabilize again. Nothing breathes there now." Jackson's jaw clenched. "And you think I'm supposed to stop that from happening again?" "No," she said softly. "You're supposed to decide whether it ever opens at all." Behind them, a noise cracked through the wind like a zipper in the fabric of reality. They both turned. Down the ridge, near the edge of the forest, a ripple spread through the air. Not a shimmer this time, but a clean cut, opening into darkness. A gate. Saraka's hand went to her blade. "We're too exposed here. They're not just sending assassins now." 3 figures stepped from the rift. One was cloaked head to toe, in shifting armor silver that moved like liquid. The other 2 carried elongated staffs tipped with blue fire. But it was the 4th shape behind them that made Jackson's blood freeze. It was him. Or something that looked like him. The 4th figure stepped into the open, eyes glowing faint green, skin too smooth, too perfect. Its voice was his voice identical. "Stand down, Saraka Velure. The key is property of the Galactic Accord. He will be reclaimed." Saraka's face tightened. "That's not Jackson. That's a mimic." The fake Jackson tilted its head, mimicking the real one's posture down to the wrinkle in his jacket. "I am a perfected version, not burdened by emotion. I will access the vault without delay. You are obsolete." Jackson shook his head. "This is insane. That thing just spoke like me." Saraka drew her second blade. They made copies to test if a synthetic could unlock the vault. None succeeded. They need you, the original, the human. The sky crackled overhead. From the glowing ring above, something descended, a beam of gold light, widening until it became a platform of sorts, hovering just above the ridge. The ship was calling them. The mimic stepped forward. "Come with me, Jackson. I can spare your world. You need only comply." Jackson looked to Saraka. "What happens if I say yes?" She didn't look away from the threat. "Then you hand over the last gift your father ever gave you. And everything he died for burns." The mimic moved first faster than expected. A sonic pulse erupted from its palm, flattening the grass and hurling Jackson back. Saraka lunged into the path of the second blast, her blade crossing in front of her as sparks flew. She struck, fast and brutal, severing one of the staff-wielding warriors in half. Jackson scrambled to his feet. The mimic was walking toward him now, his own face twisted into a mask of cold calculation. "You don't have to fight," it said. "I've already won. You're tired. You're alone." "I'm not alone," Jackson muttered. The mimic hesitated. Too late. Saraka landed behind it like thunder, driving both blades into its back. It didn't scream. It simply shuddered, looked confused, and fell. The remaining attackers fled through the rift, which snapped closed behind them. Saraka wiped her blade clean on her leg armor, then turned to Jackson. "They will keep coming." He nodded, shaking. "Then we better go somewhere they can't follow." The beam widened. Jackson stepped into the lie. The beam engulfed him like warm sunlight wrapped in static. For a split second, Jackson felt weightless, his body neither rising nor falling, his breath caught between heartbeats. Then the world shifted. His boots touched down on a surface so smooth it almost didn't exist. The interior of the ship unfolded around him in total silence, walls of silver and glass that rippled like water when touched by light. It wasn't just built. It was grown, alive, breathing. Saraka landed beside him unharmed, her blades retracted, armor dimmed to a low glow. She didn't look at him. She was scanning the walls, whispering in a language the air itself seemed to understand. Symbols lit up around her in deep violet pulses, pulsing in time with her voice. "This is a Corellan Vanguard seed ship," she said. "It recognizes me as command, but it senses you." Jackson looked down. The floor beneath his feet shimmered in response to his heartbeat. Every step he took was mirrored by faint concentric circles of gold light. "I'm not special," he muttered. "I stack boxes at a warehouse and eat cold eggs for dinner." "You're encoded," she replied. "That's more than special. That's dangerous." They moved down a curved hallway where lights sparked to life ahead of them, dying behind. The walls hummed in a rhythm he couldn't place, like it was listening. "What happens now?" he asked. "Now we activate the path." Saraka stopped in front of a tall chamber door marked with glowing lines shaped like constellations. Her gauntlet opened, revealing a vial containing a single drop of golden liquid. She handed it to him. "This is a trigger agent harmless by itself, but when introduced to your blood, it reawakens the genetic cipher buried in your cells. The vault you're tied to will recognize your signal. Without it, it won't open. With it, you become a target visible across systems." Jackson stared at it. "And I'm just supposed to inject this into myself?" "You can walk away," she said. "No one will stop you, but the vault will stay locked. And eventually someone else will find a way in. Maybe another mimic. Maybe someone worse." He took the vial. His hands trembled. It looked like honey trapped in glass. Warm. Alive. He didn't say a word. He jammed the needle into his arm and pressed. The effect was immediate. The pain wasn't sharp. It was deep cellular, like his entire nervous system rebooted. He fell to one knee. Images slammed into his mind. Flashbacks. Fractured memories. A man in a lab coat. A woman crying beside a gate. Running through rain. A hidden chamber with his father's voice echoing in the dark, and then one clear vision, his father holding him close, whispering into his ear, "Never let them make you forget who you are." When Jackson opened his eyes, The hallway had changed. The walls pulsed brighter now, like veins filled with golden fire. Ahead, a column of light descended from the ceiling, parting to reveal new room one Saraka had never seen before. "That's not in the schematics," she whispered. Jackson stepped forward. The room was circular, lined with ancient script along the walls, glowing with symbols neither of them recognized. In the center hovered a sphere about the size of a human heart suspended in stasis. Its surface was black glass, reflecting stars that weren't there. He reached out, fingers inches away. Saraka grabbed his wrist. "Wait, what is it?" She didn't answer right away. Her eyes were locked on the sphere. "This isn't just a ship. This is a relay," she said. "The vault is already listening." Then the ship screamed, not with sound, with pressure, with memory. Every light dimmed. The walls pulsed with a dark red shimmer, and warning symbols flickered into existence above their heads. "Ship security compromised," said a voice, not male, not female, and not entirely sane. "Unauthorized access from exterior node. Boarding imminent." Jackson turned to Saraka. "We're under attack again?" "No," she said slowly. "We're being boarded from inside." From behind the glowing walls, they heard it, footsteps. Dozens. Then a clicking sound, mechanical joints moving out of rhythm with biology. Saraka drew both blades. The gauntlet on her wrist blinked furiously. "They triggered a breach point while you were activating the key. They piggybacked on your signal." A panel exploded inward. 3 black armored intruders crawled through the smoke, moving like spiders on reverse joints. Their eyes glowed blue, scanning the chamber. The lead one clicked, and its voice buzzed. "Core. Verified. Acquisition protocol engaged." Saraka charged before Jackson could react. Her blade spun in a blur of white fire and blue sparks. She danced between them, limbs precise and vicious, every move honed by years of battle. Jackson ducked behind a stasis field, heart pounding. A second intruder turned toward him, raising a staff that sparked with blue current. Jackson grabbed a loose pipe from the wall and swung wildly as the staff came down. Sparks flew as the pipe connected. The thing recoiled, if only for a second. But that was enough. Saraka landed between them again and sliced the weapon clean in half. The staff fell, still crackling. The intruder jerked and twitched before collapsing in a heap of burned wires and molten armor. Silence returned. But it didn't feel like a victory. Saraka's breathing was heavy. She looked around, scanning. They won't stop. They've found the signal now. Jackson looked to the sphere, still hovering. "So what do we do?" She turned to him. "We go to Selverin. We go to the vault. And we finish what your father started." He swallowed. The warmth in his veins still pulsed, echoing like a drum. "Then set a course," he said. The stars outside the viewport twisted like threads in a loom, pulled through a glowing corridor of folded space. Jackson stood there, arms crossed, watching the universe ripple around them. It had been hours, maybe days, since they'd left orbit. Time didn't move normally in a slipstream corridor. But his thoughts did. The golden activation serum still pulsed faintly under his skin. He could feel it, not just in his veins, but in his mind. Like it was unlocking doors he didn't know were closed. Names he didn't recognize whispered through. His dreams, symbols he'd never studied, began to feel familiar. He was changing. Behind him, Saraka stood silent, armored, and alert, though she'd removed her helmet. Her hair shimmered slightly in the ship's ambient light, and her eyes were fixed on the navigation glyphs lighting up along the walls. "How far?" Jackson asked. "Less than a cycle," she replied. "Selverin lies just beyond the burn scar." "The what now?" "The remnants of a collapsed star," she said. "The planet orbits its ashes. No sun, no heat, just memory." He looked back out the viewport. "And you're sure the vault's there?" I've studied the records. This vault predates even the core alliances. Your father found the coordinates, embedded in another key world before he died. Jackson swallowed hard. And if the mimic programs try to breach it first? They'll fail, she said. Only you can trigger the final seal. But they'll try anyway. And if they can't open it, they'll destroy it. He nodded, then turned to her. Tell me something real, Saraka. Not military data, not mission facts, something about you. She looked at him then. Really looked. I was born on a dying world, she said. The last moon of Varellan Prime. My people were slaughtered during the Second Very War. I was trained from the age of 6 to be a blade for the Corellan Vanguard. I've never had a home since, just battlefields and orders. Jackson said nothing at first. Then quietly, Do you remember the first time you saw me? She nodded. I was bleeding in a crater. My vision was going dark. I thought you were one of them, but you screamed. You ran at a Vari scout with a rock. A rock, Jackson. You should have died. Guess I'm stubborn, he muttered. No, she said. You're human. That's what they don't understand. That's what your father built into the cipher. Emotion, instinct, chaos. The vault needs more than code. It needs choice. A tone echoed through the chamber, long, low, hollow. They'd arrived. The corridor unraveled, and beyond it was a planet. That didn't look like a planet at all. Silver and hung in darkness like a cracked pearl in ink. No sunlight, no clouds. Just jagged continents veined with glowing tectonic scars. Like the world had been wounded and still bled light from within. They descended slowly, the ship folding its hull in response to the atmosphere or lack of it. The air was thin, freezing, yet breathable. The ship landed in a cradle of obsidian spikes that rose from the ground like petrified lightning. Jackson stepped out first. The soil crunched under his boots. It was black, brittle, almost glass-like. Ahead of them loomed the vault dot. It wasn't a structure. It was a monolith. A pillar of fused matter that pierced the sky like a god's nail driven into the world. Its surface was not stone but shifting data, millions of symbols scrolling in sequence across its face, glowing faint gold as Jackson approached. I've seen this, he whispered, in my dreams. Saraka stood beside him, blades sheathed. Gaze steady, then it's calling you. He reached out. The air around the monolith shimmered. A low hum filled the canyon, vibrating in his chest. When his palm touched the surface, a pulse of light erupted outward. The scrolling symbols froze, then rearranged. A circle formed. A lock, and it turned. The ground beneath them cracked. A ring of dust exploded outward, revealing a massive descending platform. They stepped onto it together. As they lowered into the earth, the light faded, swallowed by the cold dark. They emerged into a chamber so vast it had its own gravity. It was like standing inside a dying sun, walls of swirling code, floating relics suspended in stasis, ancient machines the size of buildings dormant, but watching. In the center hovered a terminal, a sphere of white energy ringed by fractured satellites. Saraka stepped back. This is your moment, Jackson. He looked at her. What if I fail? You won't, she said. You've already come farther than any of us ever could. He stepped forward. The sphere reacted to his presence, arcs of light stretching toward him like fingers of memory. One touched his forehead. His eyes rolled back. His breath caught. He saw his father, not in the flesh, but in light. If you're seeing this, you survived. That means I didn't. I'm sorry, son. But I had to give you a chance to be something more than a weapon. The galaxy doesn't need another soldier. It needs a conscience. The vault is not just power, it's possibility, and it's yours to choose. Tears welled in Jackson's eyes. His knees buckled, but he didn't fall. He reached out and gripped the terminal, and the vault opened. Not with a door, not with gears. With memory. A galaxy's worth of knowledge poured into his veins. History, technology, truth, war, peace. Every vault across space flickered alive, signaling to Selvarin. The echoes began. Behind him, Saraka drew her weapon. Jackson, she said. He turned. The sky above the vault had turned black. The Vari had found them. He sky screamed. Not with sound, but with color. A fissure of pitch black had torn open above Selvarin's vault, swallowing what little ambient light lingered from the planet's tectonic glow. And from it poured dozens, no, hundreds of shapes. Long, angular ships with spears for hulls and wings that shimmered like broken glass. The Vari had arrived. Not in silence this time, but with war. Jackson stood at the heart of the vault, the terminal still pulsing beneath his hands. His eyes were glazed, his breath ragged. The knowledge was still flooding in too fast, too loud, too much. He tried to let go, but the vault clung to him, tethered like an umbilical cord feeding lifetimes of data into a mind never meant to hold it. Saraka turned to him, her voice sharp and steady. "Jackson, you have to sever the link, now," he gasped. "I can't. It's not just knowledge. It's people, stories, memories." She pressed her gauntlet against his chest. "You're not ready to carry all of them. Cut it off or they'll destroy us before you finish processing a single sentence." He closed his eyes and pulled his hand away. The link snapped like a wire pulled too tight. He staggered back, clutching his temples, sweat pouring down his face. Behind him, the central sphere dimmed to a low pulse, hiding its light. Outside, explosions cracked across the dead sky. The Vanguard seed ship Saraka's craft took evasive maneuvers, launching plasma disruptors in long arcs through the air. Several of the Vari ships broke formation, trailing smoke, but more followed. A dozen obelisks rose from the ground around the vault like instinctive defenses, their tops glowing with the same golden energy now dormant inside Jackson. They hummed louder as the enemy descended. "Defensive lattice activating," said the vault in a voice both ancient and innocent. "Permission required." Saraka turned to Jackson. "It needs you." Again, he stepped forward, trembling, and placed both hands on the command panel. The vault pulsed, genetic key recognized, initiating planetary lattice. All at once, a shockwave of light erupted outward from the base of the vault. It tore through the black soil like fire down a fuse, linking the obelisks with golden threads of plasma energy. A dome began forming overhead slowly, desperately like a glass shield being built in reverse. It wasn't fast enough. Vari. Drop pods struck the outer rim before the dome could close. Warriors emerged, grotesque figures in biomechanical armor, each one unique, each more brutal than the last. They moved like liquid shadows, slipping through the cracks of light and into the open. Saraka didn't wait. She launched forward, blades drawn, her armor shifting colors with her momentum. She struck the first warrior mid-leap, severing its spine. With a single twist. The second she spun beneath, driving her knee into its chest before exploding upward with the blade through its throat. Jackson wanted to run. Every instinct told him to hide, to disappear. But something had changed in him since touching the vault. He wasn't just a survivor now, he understood. These weren't just enemies, they were fragments of an ancient war that had never truly ended. He ran toward one of the fallen obelisks. A Vari stood over it, planting a disruptor spike. Jackson didn't have a weapon. So he picked up a shard of vault crystal, jagged and sharp, and lunged. The Vari turned too late. Jackson slammed the crystal into its faceplate. The armor screamed, sparking and fracturing. The creature screeched an awful, organic noise and collapsed. He stood there panting, staring at the smoking remains. His first kill, A voice buzzed in his mind, one of the residual imprints from the vault. It's not about war. It's about will. He turned. Saraka was wounded, blood running down her side, but still fighting. 2 more Vari had broken through the lattice perimeter. One raised a glowing blade toward her back. Jackson ran. Without thinking, without hesitation, he tackled the attacker mid-swing, both of them crashing into the ground. The blade missed Saraka by inches. The weight of the impact knocked the air from Jackson's lungs, but he recovered first. He rolled onto the Vari, drove the crystal deeper into its chest plate until it stopped moving. Saraka turned, breathing hard. You're adapting fast. He wiped his hands on his jacket. I'm not letting them take this. Not now. Behind them, the vault pulsed again. Then, a sound unlike the others. A low, deep bong that echoed like a cathedral bell in space. The monolith at the center had changed. It was opening not a door, but a fracture in reality itself. Within it, another world, a reflection of a civilization long gone, and standing in the middle of that illusion was his father, or something wearing his father's face. Jackson, it said, you've done well, but this isn't over. The real vault lies deeper. You've only opened the shell. Jackson stepped forward. Are you? Him? The figure smiled faintly. I'm a recording, a last defense. The final vault requires not just blood, but bond. You must choose someone, not just to protect you, but to be your equal, your tether. He turned to Saraka, who stood silently behind him. Figure spoke again. Only those bound by shared purpose can access what lies within. Saraka stepped forward. We made that choice before we even understood it. The vault's light scanned them both. Confirmed. Bond recognized. Proceed. The inner monolith unfolded. A final passage. And just as they stepped inside, something changed in the sky again. Not blackness this time, but red. Dozens of massive ships blinked into orbit twice the size of the very fleet. Not very. Another faction. Watching. Waiting. The final war had just begun. The inner vault did not open like a door. It breathed. The air around Jackson and Saraka shimmered, folding in upon itself like pages turning in a book only the universe could read. Light poured upward in narrow columns, carving a path through the darkness. But it was not just illumination, it was memory sculpted into form. The chamber was circular, impossibly vast, stretching into a dome lined with floating structures, pillars of code, crystalline spires, fragments of cities long dead, and starlight trapped in crystal. Jackson's breath caught. It felt like standing inside the mind of a god. Saraka stepped cautiously beside him, blade sheathed but eyes sharp. This isn't technology, she whispered. It's consciousness. Ahead of them hovered a final pedestal, low and flat, glowing softly. Atop it sat a sphere no bigger than an apple, pitch black and flecked with moving stars. The moment Jackson looked at it, it looked back. He didn't move. I know this, he said quietly. The sphere pulsed and a voice filled the chamber deeper than before. More alive. You have returned, not as a key, as a question. Jackson stepped forward slowly. The sphere rose to meet him. What are you? The core of the vault. The sum of a fallen world's dreams. We are knowledge. We are war. We are the record of everything that could be, and everything that must not be again. A wave of images hit him like fire. Planets burning, species weeping, machines rewriting their creators, and stars collapsing under the weight of ambition. Then, unity, healing, a single child's laughter beneath a twin-moon sky. Jackson stumbled. Back gasping, this is not a weapon, he said. It can be, the voice replied. To some, to others it is a seed. Saraka touched his arm. You have to choose. The Vari? The fleet outside, They all came for control. If you activate it wrong, they get what they want. How do I stop them? Jackson asked. By not becoming them. Suddenly, the sphere split open, revealing two paths beneath it. One side glowed red, sharp, linear, humming with stored energy. It promised power, control, defense. The other pulsed blue, softer, quieter, a slow rhythm that echoed a heartbeat. This side offered connection, understanding, vulnerability. Two paths. Power or resonance, said the voice. One will end war by force. The other will dissolve it over time, but only if you live long enough to see it. A sudden explosion rocked the outer lattice. Saraka turned sharply. They're breaking through. Another pulse shook the walls. Then a third, heavier. Jackson recognized the sound. Not very weapons. Something else. The third fleet had arrived. Ships shaped like wings of obsidian and fire. Their hulls bore emblems of spiral stars wrapped in chains. The Dural Ascendancy, a faction rumored to use living minds as engines. Silent executioners of civilization. They weren't here for negotiation. They'll kill everyone, Jackson said. Not just us, them too. Very humans, anyone. Just to keep the vault from tipping the scale. Then decide, said the vault. Now. He looked at Saraka. She nodded. No matter what, I'm with you. Jackson stepped between the paths. He did not choose red. He did not choose blue. He knelt and placed both hands on the center, where the colors met. I choose balance. Not silence, not domination. I choose a third path. For a breathless moment, nothing happened. Then everything did. The chamber exploded with white light, neither hot nor blinding, but alive. It surged upward through the vault into the obelisks. Into the sky. A ring of force erupted from Selvarin's crust, spreading across orbit like a tidal wave of clarity. The Vari ships disabled in place. The Dural fleet halted mid-fire, their engines neutralized. Inside every enemy vessel, the crew heard a voice, their own voice, their own memories. The vault was showing them who they used to be before hate, before war, before orders. Some dropped their weapons, some wept. On Selvarin, Saraka stood stunned. What did you do? Jackson turned. His eyes were glowing with light. I showed them the truth, not through force, through memory, through resonance. The vault core pulsed once more. Then dimmed. Then disappeared. Dissolved. Had chosen to live through him now. Far above. Both fleets turned in retreat. Not because they were defeated, but because something inside them had changed. Peace, real peace, had been heard, not enforced. Weeks passed. Jackson stood on the surface of Selvarin, now calmer, warmer. The planet had shifted since the vault. Activated. What once bled light now bloomed. Saraka joined him. No armor, no weapons. Just a quiet presence. They're asking for you, she said. A summit is forming. Corellans, Earth delegates. Even the Vari. They want to understand what happened here. Jackson smiled faintly. Let them come. I'll tell them. I'll tell them everything. She stepped beside him and pulled something from a pocket. The photo. Him as a boy. Dirt on his face. That same crooked smile. This is you? She said. Softly. And I'll never stop being grateful that I found you. He looked at her, then at the sky. And for the first time in his life, he felt weightless, not lost, but finally known.